More damning stories are set to be released regarding Vince McMahon and hush money payments made to former WWE employees. Plus, things are going from bad to worse for the former WWE chairman as federal investigators are probing his hush money payments. We'll also talk about Triple H taking over WWE Creative and what it means for WWE going forward. All this and more in today's WWE News. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE, and things are all a change. Change is afoot, certainly, in the world of WWE, and there is plenty to talk about when it comes to Vince McMahon. Now, obviously, the former WWE chairman announced his retirement this past Friday, and when we say retirement, he resigned. He was pushed, he was forced by the company to retire because of all of these allegations of misconduct currently surrounding him and swirling him, and things are set to go to bad for worse, from bad to worse rather. I spoke about this when I did my live stream late Friday evening that, make no mistake, don't sit here and think that Vince McMahon decided one day that he woke up when I'm 77, I've had my fill of pro wrestling, I'm done. That's not the case. Vince McMahon is absolutely being pushed right now out of the company because either Vince McMahon or WWE or both of them have got wind that something far, far worse is coming, and we may have a better indication as to what that is. Now, in the aftermath of two explosive stories from the Wall Street Journal, other mainstream outlets have reportedly begun fishing into Vince McMahon's past transgressions. In the coming week, HBO Real Sports is set to drop a story on McMahon that is said to contain, quote, damning details. On Monday's Wrestling Observer Live, Brian Alvarez noted that McMahon's retirement was likely a preemptive move as WWE was and is aware of the details in the upcoming stories. This is what he had to say, quote, I will say that there are rumors that the HBO Real Sports story on Vince is, one person used the term damning, and there might be another Wall Street Journal article coming out this week, Alvarez said. They may have gotten ahead of things with this resignation on Friday. Again, he's using the word resignation and not retirement because that's what it is. It's Vince McMahon resigning from his position as a preemptive measure to try and protect the company as best as he can. Now, again, I mentioned this goes from bad to worse. Now, WWE yesterday filed their latest SEC filing, and the language that they used and some of the details they released during it, I mean, if the details coming out from HBO Real Sports is damning, I don't know what this is, because this is incredibly, as some people have said, legally foreboding, and Vince McMahon may be in a lot of trouble, and possibly the WWE themselves as a company may also be in a lot of trouble from a federal regulatory standpoint. Now, on Monday morning, WWE released their latest SEC filing, which revealed that the company had made a, quote, preliminary determination that payments McMahon made from 2006 to 2022 were not recorded as expenses in the quarters that they occurred in, thus making them unrecorded expenses. As such, WWE announced that they are revising previous financial statements to record these expenses for the end of 2019, 2020, 2021, and Q1 of 2022, with the goal of issuing new statements by August 9. Now, WWE also revealed that the total of these unrecorded expenses is around $14.6 million, and that McMahon had paid or would pay the amount personally. Now, the $14.6 million, which WWE claims was not material to any individual time period in which the unrecorded expenses arose, has been determined to be an aggregate amount, and WWE is continuing to evaluate the impact on the previously reported financial statements. So WWE is investigating now, okay, these should have been documented as expenses by McMahon. Even though he paid them themselves, these should have been recorded by McMahon, and they weren't. So having to revise these previous financial statements. We'll get into the legal issues that surround that in just a second. Now, as I mentioned, it had been previously reported that McMahon had paid $12.5 million to keep quiet numerous potential scandals, with the individual payouts ranging from $7.5 million to $3 million to two $1 million payouts. If those payments are part of this $14.6 million figure, this would then leave approximately $2.1 million unaccounted for. Again, we don't know if this is related to another payout or if it's something else that's going on. It's just not good. But this is really where a lot of people really opened their eyes and said, oh, this doesn't sound good for McMahon and the company as a whole. This is what they put a brief statement at the end of this filing. Quote, the company has also received and may receive in the future regulatory, investigative, and enforcement inquiries, subpoenas, or demands arising from, related to, or in connection with these matters. Basically saying that WWE already has received some kind of regulatory or investigative or enforcement inquiries regarding this, and they could in the future receive subpoenas or receive further inquiries, and bad stuff could be on its way when it comes to WWE. And what they meant by that is federal investigation, because again, this is not going away. According to a new Wall Street Journal report, federal prosecutors and the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, are now looking into the payments made by former WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon. Of course, he announced his resignation to the surprise of many, with sources saying it was actually the federal investigation that hastened McMahon's decision to retire from all duties, corporate and creative. It's this federal investigation that really expedited this whole process. WWE and Vince McMahon heard that the feds are looking into all of this and went, we need to cut bait now, because McMahon's legal future and WWE's future may depend on it. Again, it is no joke what is going on right now. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, McMahon's behavior could put the company's relationships with advertisers and networks at risk. And with WWE's current streaming deal with Hulu coming to an end this year, that doesn't look good for that as well. McMahon's daughter Stephanie is currently sharing the CEO role, of course, with the WWE president Nick Khan. According to the 8K filing, the WWE Board of Directors investigation is still ongoing, while the federal investigation begins. Numerous law firms are now also investigating WWE on behalf of its shareholders over WWE's handling of the study as well. It's wild stuff. It really is. Now, when it comes to the stock actually reacted fairly positively. For years and years and years, we've heard, well, when Vince McMahon dies or he retires or he leaves the company, the stock's going to plummet. WWE can't make any more. This is the problem. They can't operate without Vince McMahon. Well, actually, WWE stock rose as high as 10.57% against a seemingly flat stock market before settling into a 7.90% rise around the time of the publication online, which is pretty good, actually. That is positive news. It would appear that the stock market actually is holding steady and rising slightly with the news of Vince's retirement and with the subsequent replacements of Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan, and Triple H heading up WWE's creative. But it is this federal investigation that's a massive problem for WWE going forward. Now, when it comes to Triple H, we'll talk about him when it comes to creative, but let's just think about that story for a second. WWE are now being federally investigated because of these discrepancies, or because of these issues when it comes to these SEC filings, or when it comes to their quarterly revenue reports over these years, because they didn't include these undocumented or unrecorded expenses, which were these hush money payments by Vince McMahon. I don't know. I mean, I'm no Wall Street expert. I'm no financial expert, financial guru, or anything like that. I know as much about the stock market as your average person does walking the street. But when you're being federally investigated, and it's so bad or it's so intense that your chairman, a chairman that still is the majority shareholder of the company, and a chairman where pro wrestling, particularly WWE, is his life. He lives it, he breathes it. It's been his life for as long as he can remember. What took Vince McMahon to step away from the company he built into a multi-billion-dollar organization? That is serious stuff. That is serious stuff. And the reason I would think that he has walked away after hearing that he's going to be federally investigated is because he knows, I'm in trouble. It's not like, the steroid scandal in the 90s where he felt that I can beat this, or I'm still going to stay in charge, or he was going to get these people in, Jerry Jarrett or Bill Watts, to run the company if he went to jail. But he still pushed it. He still fought. In his mind, he's not even fighting this at this point, because he knows, I've been caught. I am caught red-handed. I am done. I can't fight back because I've got nothing to fight back for with this, because I'm guilty, allegedly. So this is, if you thought this story was ending, with Vince McMahon's retirement, if you thought this story was ending with Vince McMahon stepping away from WWE, you are incredibly wrong, because this story is only just beginning. Pandora's box has been opened and the secrets are starting to fly out now, but more stories are set to come by the Wall Street Journal, by HBO Real Sports, and I would assume by other bigger publications that are also looking into this, because this has become a national, global story now. More people are looking into it. More stories will come. They will reach out to people that have signed these NDAs and say, hey, you know, maybe if you want to break your NDA, you can. Let's expose what's really going on. And that's fascinating to see as well. And let alone what the federal investigative bodies that are looking into this as well, let alone just the law firms that are looking into this. This was a story that's been going on the last month or so, or really ever since these first stories came out, was the reports that all of these law firms were looking into WWE, and particularly Vince McMahon and this whole scandal. And I'm sure they'll be able to find stuff as well. It's not hard to find. If the feds are looking into it as well, it's not hard to find. All of their revenue reports are publicly documented. They're a publicly traded company. They're not difficult to find. This isn't like the 80s or the 90s where they could hide stuff away because they were a private company. So that's not the case anymore. So this is about to get from bad to worse, I think, for Vince McMahon. And it's not a case of, well, I'll retire and the company will be fine and I'll be fine and I'll get away with it. Like I said, Pandora's box has been opened. People are looking into this now, and the details are there to be seen. And I expect this story to continue, irrespective of Vince McMahon being with the company or not. I don't know what the situation is going to be about his stake or his shares in the company. I don't think they can take them away from them. But WWE certainly can get massively fined because of this. Vince McMahon can get massively fined because of this. And if WWE has to deal with some significant fines or possible litigation, or maybe even worse, or more people come out of the woodwork and sue WWE and sue Vince McMahon, there could be astronomical costs to WWE. Not that this would close WWE down, but once it comes to the point of sponsors pulling out, or when it comes to, as I mentioned, lawsuits against the company, which are expensive to fight, and also if these people get a positive judgment against WWE, or these federal investigations, if they fine WWE millions and millions of dollars, of course WWE can afford it, but these are still significant costs to the company. And WWE will be more than aware of this right now. If you think budget cuts were bad before, what could happen in the future? So this is, whilst obviously Vince McMahon's retirement is the biggest story probably ever to happen in the modern era of WWE, this could just be the beginning. You know, as I mentioned, Pandora's box is open. The first domino has fallen, and we'll see how many people go down with it. Because Vince McMahon leaving the company is a big deal, and anything at this point is fair game. Anything is possible. And that's really a huge story. Now, of course, a big story yesterday was that Triple H was the new head of creative, in addition to being the executive vice president of talent relations going forward in WWE. Now, it's been reported by Fightful that there was general excitement, actually, when it came to Triple H taking over as the head of creative. And, of course, you know, many people had worked with Triple H during his tenure booking NXT between 2012 and 2021. It was also said that USA Network, the home of both Raw and NXT, has reacted positively to this news, calling it an exciting change. There was a backstage talent meeting held before Raw last night, and it's quite interesting as to what he said. Now, those present at the meeting, this is according to Fightful, have said that the meeting went really well, and there's a lot of optimism surrounding the change in creative. This mirrors what was reported previously when it was noted that there was a general excitement, roughly, about Triple H's placement amongst talent, many of whom, of course, most of that roster came through NXT at this point, so most people have this ongoing relationship with Triple H from his time there between 2012 and 2021. Now, an emphasis on transparency was brought up by the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and new Head of Creative, as he understood that some didn't feel that had existed under the previous regime. The goal is to maintain an open line of communication between the talent and those in positions of power like Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Nick Khan. It's added that Triple H brought up how he wants work to be fun going forward and intends to facilitate an environment where that's possible. Overall, the general consensus from the meeting was that it was a positive way to kick off a new era in the company. And look, we'll wait and see. I know a lot of people have been really positive about it, positive about this news, and I think change is a good thing. And change was, of course, clearly needed in WWE. There's no doubt about that change was needed in WWE. And The company is moving forward in a different space, in a different generation, and Vince McMahon, I think, ran out of ideas a long time ago. Now, is Triple H the perfect booker? No. I mean, you go back and watch some of the NXT shows, there were some things that weren't great about it. And NXT ultimately didn't win the Wednesday Night Wars against Tony Khan. Now, I think that's for a variety of reasons. I think they lost their format slightly when they went to 2 hours. I think also that roster continuously changed. Every time they got a big star, NXT, they lost them. They went to the main roster. And I always said that AEW should have won that war against NXT. When you look at the star power in comparison, no disrespect, but you had people like, let's say Keith Lee, let's say Adam Cole as your big stars, or Finn Balor in NXT as your big star. In comparison, you had people like Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, Sting eventually came in, Kenny Omega. They just are bigger names, and more. If they were in WWE, this was my point at the time. If Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, if they were in WWE, they wouldn't be in NXT. They'd be on the main roster. Therefore, they were bigger stars than what NXT had at the time. So AEW should have won that war, and they did. But at the same time, I look at NXT, let's say 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. That is some of the best television that WWE has produced in a really, arguably ever since the Attitude Era. It was that good, and it was that compelling stuff. Can Triple H bring that to the main roster? Can he bring that to a 3-hour Monday Night Raw? Can he bring that to a 2-hour Friday Night SmackDown? I don't know. That is the complexities, and frankly, he struggled to do it on a 2-hour basis for NXT on Wednesday nights. So we'll see. We'll see when it comes to it. But change isn't a bad thing, especially in creative, and it's an exciting time. When it comes to the creative side, there certainly appears to be a creative renaissance maybe on the horizon with WWE, but there is still a lot going on in the background, and I think at an executive level, it can't be overstated just what is going on right now. Yes, Stephanie McMahon is the chairwoman and co-CEO of the company. Yes, Triple H is back in a position of power and authority in the company, being the executive vice president of talent relations and head of WWE creative, but the mess and the void that is left by Vince McMahon and his transgressions, his issues in the past, they aren't going away just because he has. And that's going to be the fascinating thing, I think, moving forward when it pertains to WWE. So this is an ongoing story. I'm sure we'll talk about this over and over and over and over and over and over again here on the channel. And it's going to be a story that's going to be etched in stone in several documentaries and several YouTube videos over the years. So this is just the beginning. It truly is. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.